The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds. As a deer hunter, I want to know all I can about America's favorite big game animal. That's why I became a deer farmer. Without deer farms, we lose our greatest resource for research and whitetail management. With them, we gain more knowledge than ever before. Join me as we discover the truth about whitetails and meet those who work every day to preserve this great species for future generations. My name is Keith Warren, and this is Deer and Wildlife Stories. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Keith Warren, and today we're heading to the great state of Kentucky, where we'll be visiting 4 different deer farms, and we'll show you some of the biggest white-tailed deer on the planet.
KALA is Kentucky Alternative Livestock Association. It's our association here in Kentucky for deer farmers. Deer farming here in Kentucky is under the Department of Ag and not under Fish and Wildlife. You can make a really good living deer farming in Kentucky on a small piece of property. Deer farming is great for families to get together in. I have 5 kids and they all love to deer farm. They love the fawns and they have a really good time. We can spend a bunch of time together as a family and do what we love and make a living at the same time. My wife likes deer farming most of the time until it consumes all of my time. Now, having a preserve in Kentucky is really nice because we got a lot of beautiful land up here, a lot of rolling hills and big oak flats, and it's just perfect habitat for the whitetail. Our number one goal here is to let other people know that you can start a deer farm in Kentucky. You are able to do it and you can make a good living at it, done right. It's really, really fun business to get into and we love it. And if you need any more information, feel free to contact anybody in KALA, they'd be glad to help.
They're all 2-year-olds, huh?
Yeah, all them that fence 2-year-olds.
Man, you know, I hear people all the time say, well, you can't grow big deer in Kentucky or you can't grow big deer in Florida. I think, oh, butter. I mean, look at that. You know, the deal is, as we know, it's all genetics. It's farming for the right genetics. So let me ask you, how many deer you got total here?
Probably about 100 in the pens right now, yes.
Okay, all right. Now, a good question that I know a lot of people wind up asking, say, what happens to these deer? You know, you were looking at all these beautiful deer. I know you got does and fawns and bucks. What happens to them?
The bucks, we turn loose in our fenced in area out here and improve the genetics and stuff in our hunting preserve out here.
And see, I think that's important to make sure that we communicate to people that deer farming is made to help improve genetics, period. Yes, deer can be utilized for meat and for skins and for antlers, but I mean, for the most part, we're trying to improve the genetics. And so when you're taking a look at these deer, really all of them have got great genetics. I mean, you know, some of them are better than others, just like any place, but I mean, you've got some really nice looking deer. The name of this particular piece of property that we're on is named Kentucky Trophy Deer. And I've done a show with Clay, I guess 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer than that. I know that your boy was this big and now he's this big.
Yeah.
But you know, I look at deer farming and I think in Kentucky, most people don't think of Kentucky as a good state to deer farm in. And I think Kentucky is probably one of the best states to deer farm in. And tell them why.
We don't have as much EHD for one. The deer grow really good here. It's a milder climate.
You know, the big thing that I see,
what's that?
Y'all can sell everything you can grow.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
there is a market. The demand cannot be met right now with the number of deer farmers. So if you're in Kentucky, if you've got land in Kentucky, the cool thing about deer farming is you don't have to have a big piece of land or a lot of money to establish yourself as a deer farmer. You can get a hold of guys like Clay and he can set you up. I mean, Clay, he's dialed in. Folks, as you look at the deer in the pens, Kentucky Trophy Deer doesn't just have deer in a deer farm, but they also have a wonderful hunting preserve. And if you want information on the hunting preserve, you can go to KentuckyTrophyDeer.com online. And also, Clay, tell them that Kentucky has an organization for deer farmers. If you're interested in deer farming, or if you're a deer farmer, they can help you. Tell them what website they can go to.
It's Kayla. It's Kentucky Alternative Livestock Association. It's just www.kala.com, and there's a directory on there. You can look up any farmer that might be close to you or whatever. Anybody would be glad to help you get started. Or you can give me a call. My number is 270-363-9298. I'd be glad to help you as well.
And I'm telling you right now, Clay may not be very old, but he knows a whole lot about deer. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by New Dart, leading the industry in accuracy.
Hello, I'm Henry Woodard with Woodard Whitetails of Kentucky. Our goal on this farm is to produce some of the best deer that we would have here in the state of Kentucky. Our goals are also to get others involved in the business. Here in Kentucky, we are under the Department of Agriculture, and the association that we have that represents us as a voice is KALA, which stands for Kentucky Alternative Livestock Association. Something else that KALA does is they work alongside the state of Kentucky to come up with the best laws and regulations. I don't know a single deer farmer throughout the country that doesn't love to have people come out and look at their deer. If you're interested, just give anyone a call that's in this business, and they will be more than happy to show you what they've got. Everyone's proud of their deer. We love what we're doing, and we are extremely excited when we get the chance to show and introduce other people to this business.
All right, so how old are the bucks in here?
These are mostly one-year-old bucks, Keith. We've got a couple two-year-old bucks in here as well.
Okay, and folks, I want to introduce you. This is Henry Woodard. Henry is a very well-known deer farmer. He's from Texas, and but he lives in Tennessee. But I got to ask you a question. I mean, this was a real surprise for me to run into you up here, because literally everybody in Texas knows who Henry Woodard is. Literally, I mean, every deer breeder. I'm not kidding. I'm not just flattering you. I'm just telling you, everyone knows. Why in the world are you now involved in deer farming in Kentucky?
Right here in this location where we're at, just outside Glasgow, it's an hour and 10 minutes from my house, Keith. We'd hoped that we could open up deer breeding in Tennessee, and we worked on that a couple of years and didn't really have any luck. So I just decided that, you know, I could drive an hour and 10 minutes and be in a state like Kentucky that people are already deer breeding. And you know, it's a great state to be in the deer farming business.
I want to stress, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be in the deer farming business, and I don't know if there's a better state to be in right now to be getting in the deer business than Kentucky. Do you?
Oh, I agree, because I think that Kentucky is really in the fledgling state of the deer farming business. It's an agriculture state.
This is the right place at the right time. And the reason why I say so, if Henry Woodard is going to be here and he is going to be, I mean, involved in the deer farming business right here in Kentucky, I'm telling you, everybody, Kentucky is the market to be in. I mean, it is a market that there's so much blue sky in Kentucky, it's just unbelievable. And the deer, I mean, look at them. They're beautiful. So how old are these bucks?
Most of these are 2 and 3 year old, with the exception of the breeder Lou. Lou is 6 years old this year and grown his best rack.
So you've got the green tags in there. What does that represent?
The green tags are all 2 year old. The orange tags are 3.
My goodness. All right, and folks, it is this is August the 1st, first part of August, and probably I'd say half of these deer are basically done. I mean, maybe more than half of them. You can take a look at their antlers and you can tell they're not bulbed out anymore, all except for a few of the great big ones. Like, oh, I'll tell you what, there's some of them that are bulbed up. Like, who's that guy in the back corner right there? Who's that?
That is Lou, the 6 year old breeder. Found out that he's Maximo Encore over a full throttle doe.
So you've got, of course, he's in the registry, right? The North American Deer Registry.
Yes, sir.
And I guess the goal for this whole program is to let people know that in Kentucky, deer farming is alive and well. I mean, and really the deer farmers in Kentucky are starving for more people to get into the deer farming business because there's such a demand.
We're bottle raising all of our doe fawns, and the reason why that we do this is because it makes them more manageable. They're easier to work with, and we find that also that our results when it comes time to breed are a lot better by doing this. We feel like this is an opportunity to have youngsters involved in all aspects of deer farming. I'm Henry Woodard with Woodard Whitetails of Kentucky, and you're watching Deer and Wildlife Stories with Keith Warren.
The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds.
The name's Bobby Mills. The name of the farm is Bobby Mills and Sons. Us deer farmers, we're farmers. We're country boys, majority of us are, and we love company. We love to show our deer off. We love to brag on them. We love for people to brag on them. And if you're sitting at home thinking, well, I don't want to disturb them or I don't want to bother them, then don't think that way, because we want you to come out and we want you to look and we want you to get involved in the deer farming business. Living here on the farm, we were able to help our kids learn how to work, to learn that work ethics. And either you're going to get them involved in something or the world's going to get them involved in something that they don't need to be involved in. I was a deer hunter, and I always spent money looking for that there big buck. I've got into the deer farming business. When I get that urge to go out there and spend a bunch of money to go out and hunt a big buck, all I have to do is grab my little chair, go over, sit down next to the fence and hold out an apple or a limb, and my dream comes true. Buck walks right up to me, it don't cost no money. I always wanted a hobby that paid its way, and deer farming is a way of paying for that hobby.
You know, as I've traveled around Kentucky, I've seen all different kinds of farms. I mean, farms that got great big pens, some smaller pens, and your pens are really not that big, and there's no doubt that you're in the most rural area that we've been in. Tell everybody how you make money off these deer.
We raise these deer because we love raising them, and we love to see other people get into it. We're trying our best to get more farms started here in Kentucky to fulfill everybody else's dream. And if the people, and we make money off these deer by selling them to new beginners, people that want to start a farm.
Well, but at the same time too, there may be somebody, there's more and more people that are putting high fences up all over the country because they're sick and tired of people wind up, shooting deer when they're little bitty.
Right.
And so those people that put fences up want to bring in exceptional genetics, and then when they do, who do they call? They call Bobby. They call somebody with Kayla. That's the only way that you're going to really make a difference with the quality of genetics. And I mean, you got some really nice deer. Now, how old are these guys?
These deer, the oldest one is 3-year-old. And then the orange tagged ones, you can see it there, they're 2-year-olds. And then the littler ones, there's 4 in there that's just 15 months old. Mm-hmm. So they're young deer.
Boy, I'll tell you, they're nice. I mean, there's some real pretty ones too. Really pretty.
Yeah, I like the typical look. And they've grown out good. And a lot of people think it takes a lot of special food to feed them. But if you'll see, I'm feeding corn and crabgrass with a lot of prayer.
There you go.
And God's blessing with, along with some minerals that we feed.
Well, if somebody is watching this show that wants more information about deer farming in Kentucky, what do they need to do?
They need to go to the internet and go to kentucky.com, deer farmers, and it'll pull up the Kayla Love site, and it'll have a list of the deer farmers that's here in the state of Kentucky, and they could call any one of us, and we could share the information with them.
You wouldn't be bashful to share, would you?
No, I wouldn't be a bit bashful, no. Because you can see I'm proud of what God's given me.
You should be proud. This is beautiful. I mean, and you got a big family. They ought to be you're so blessed with, and to have the family living right here on the family farm and have deer be able to make it possible.
And people come from all around just to come and look and see and to touch, because you don't see this in the wild.
Yep.
You don't see deer like that in the wild anymore.
The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by New Dart, leading the industry in accuracy.
My name's Mike Sulfridge. I'm with Big Antler Ranch in Jackson County, Kentucky. I've been deer farming full-time since 2013. The most rewarding thing that I get from raising deer is being able to do it with my dad. The camaraderie and the friendship that he and I have built, being able to work together. You know, most kids don't get that opportunity, and I'm blessed to be able to have that opportunity. The one piece of advice that I would give anybody that's interested in deer farming is to come to a deer farm before you make your mind up. We're all willing to help each other, and it can be very lucrative. If I had to do it all over again, my dad and I, we would have started sooner.
Folks, this is Big Antler Ranch. And, you know, on today's program, we've been talking about how deer farming is done on marginal pieces of property, that you couldn't grow a crop on, wouldn't be good to run cattle on. And Big Antler Ranch is built on the side of a hill that absolutely is not going to be good for really anything else except deer farming. And we're fixing to show you. Yeah, let's go look at some deer. So how old are these guys?
We've got 2 3-year-olds, 6 2-year-olds, and 5 yearlings.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you got some good looking deer, and they're real pretty. I mean, like the nice frames they have. I mean, and they're calm. Yeah, calm. But you know, look at the hill. I cannot believe the steepness of this hill. That literally, I mean, if you're gonna bush hog this, you better go straight up, straight down. I mean, this is steep, and you wouldn't want to go sideways. But tell everybody why this works out so good for deer farming because of the drainage. Tell them.
Well, when it rains, of course, we don't have the puddles of water that you would on a flat ground.
Yeah.
And then with being on the side of a hill, it washes all their waste down. And so the more we can keep them drinking out of their water trough, the healthier the deer are going to be.
Absolutely. Well, they all look healthy, but I am amazed. Seriously, I don't see too many deer pens up on a steep slope like this. And that's one thing that we've been trying to talk about on this show is that Kentucky, I mean, Kentucky isn't flat. I mean, Kentucky is rolling hills. Y'all got a lot of hills. And we're trying to get people to be aware that deer farming is alive and well in Kentucky. They may think, oh, we can't do anything with our ground. Well, look what you can do with your ground.
Sure you can.
So how many acres of pens do you have here?
Approximately 5 acres, I believe.
5 acres, and you got 5 pens, you said?
Correct.
Okay, so you don't have to have big pens, folks. I mean, you don't have to have a big piece of property, and you don't have to have a bunch of fancy equipment. So when did y'all start?
We started in the summer of 2013 was our first fawn season.
Okay, and so here we are. You're 3 years into it, and look at the deer that you've got. So folks, it doesn't take many deer to get started. And before long, you're gonna have a bunch of them. I mean, they populate pretty doggone quick. So Mike, if somebody wants to find out more information, they can just either go online to your website or give them a telephone number.
Yeah. Phone number is 606-594-3116.
And folks, we'll have a direct link off of our website, Deer and Wildlife Stories, right over to Mike and to Fred, so that way you can get a hold of them. We'll also have a direct link over to the Kayla website. And everybody that we're featuring on today's show is a member of the Kentucky Alternative Livestock Association. If you want more information about deer farming in general in the state of Kentucky, you need to contact Kayla. Well, these are some nice looking deer. A bunch of pigs. Look at this. They love these little candies. Don't take candy from a stranger. Didn't your daddy ever tell you? Oh, look at that. That's cool. Come on. Grant says, my brother and I inherited a hunting preserve and the genetics just aren't what they used to be years ago. Someone told me about genetic stagnation could be to blame. What is it, and can you help advise on what to do? Grant, good question. Genetic stagnation can be to blame. In a confined environment, the animals need to have genetic diversity, just like in the wild. One thing that you can do is you can contact the local deer farmer. Deer farmers have lots of deer with genetic diversity, really, really good genetics. And by bringing deer in from a deer farmer, it will improve the genetics overall, and you'll see a difference in no time. That's a good question. The white-tailed deer. I don't know of an animal that brings more joy to more people, and there's no better way to enjoy the white-tailed deer than to become a deer farmer. If you're interested in deer farming, let us hear from you. Shoot me an email, and I promise you I'll get back with you. if you're interested in deer farming right here in the state of Kentucky. We'll have a direct link off of my website to the Kentucky Alternative Livestock Association. They would love to hear from you. I'm Keith Warren, and thanks for watching.